Ron Carrington.
And I'm Tia Taylor.
And you're watching Spotlight on the Great Blacks and Wax Museum. And today's show is about the journey from life to death and the grieving that goes on. We have Renee Bailing with us today.
Yes, and she's going to talk about a celebration of life book that she's created to show the photographs and ways that you can express your loved one's life in a book.
All right. Renee just lost her daughter, Megan, and this book is a tribute to that loss. And hopefully it'll be an inspiration to other people to hold on to the memory of the loved one that's just passed on. So we'll be back with more of Spotlight on the Great Blacks and Wax Museum.
Be right back. Welcome back. Today we have with us Renee Bailing, who is a celebration of life photographer. So we're really happy to have you with us today to share more about what it is that you're doing and what inspired you to do this.
Thank you. What inspired me to do this was my daughter passing recently, and I thought, what a great idea if we could have photography of funerals, but done in a very discretionary and very poignant way.
And if it's done well, that means people are going to have memories that they can cherish for generations and generations. I think this is vital. This is critical. Have you copyrighted your idea yet?
I'm in the process of doing that now.
Okay, so folks, you're getting it here first. Spotlight on Great Blacks and Wax Museum. You're getting it here first. All right, tell us some more about the book.
Well, it's a sample book right now, and it can have the deceased's name and their date of birth to their date of death, and the funeral company name if I go to a funeral home, and their name. And then inside, you can call it the final journey home. And right now there's just sample pictures in it, and I can put more than one picture. I can put two pictures on this side. I can change the color from black to white or whatever color they would prefer. It can be completely customized for that person. You know?
I think this is wonderful. This is
Thank
wonderful.
you. And you can have really poignant pictures in there, and if you're like, say you're deeply religious, we can have some pictures of heaven, well, depicted pictures of heaven. And like pictures of the spray on the casket, you know, we want to take pictures of that. We can also list underneath it their life accomplishments. Like I know this one lady, her husband was on the battleship Missouri when the treaty was signed.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
with MacArthur.
Yeah. And then there's pictures of the casket. Do you know how much the average casket lists for?
Oh, I'm afraid to guess.
It's up in the thousands. And I'm thinking, just me, if I'm paying that much for a casket, I want a picture of it.
No, I want the casket back. After everything's over, I want the casket
Well, they
back.
do have rental caskets, but you know, it's not like you can put it in your living room.
I think one of the beautiful things about this book is that it's done so tastefully.
Yeah.
And it's just such a wonderful tribute to your loved one. It's almost as if it's showing their life in a pictorial, similar to how celebrities have autobiographies. This book is really laid out because this person in your life is a celebrity in your life. And it really shows that. Something that you can keep out on the coffee table.
Right.
Or if you do want to, some people don't want that constant reminder. It's
Right.
when you have a Thanksgiving or
You can
Christmas
bring
or
out the
something.
book.
Bring out the book when the whole family's over and just look at the beautiful pictures that are done so tastefully.
And like this one picture at the funeral home, you're talking to different people. When you're at the funeral, and you won't remember that. I can speak for myself. The whole thing was a blur. So that way you can say, oh wow, I talked to this guy. I need to send him a thank you card or something like that. You know?
And I think because this is from firsthand experience for
Yes.
you know the emotions of what something like this means.
Yes.
Someone who may not have gone through a loss such as yours would say, well, this person's just taking pictures. But this is something that's been meaningful for you
Oh, yeah. It's
to help
cathartic for
you,
me.
exactly,
You know,
to help
it
you
helps
with your
me
healing
with-
process.
Oh yeah, my process is very, very cathartic in this, and it helps you, the person's family, to help with the process, with the whole aftermath.
Are you at liberty to talk about the cost of what a package like this
Oh
is?
yeah. Right now I'm doing an introductory price at $250, and if it gets popular, then I'll take it up to $300. And the reason I say $300 is because I found out that a local newspaper charges $300 for an obituary. For this little bit of line, you know,
Right.
and for $300
Get
you
the
get
whole
this,
book.
yeah,
With memories.
yeah, and it'll like be ready about 2 weeks after the funeral, when things have calmed down a little bit, when the person has time to breathe, and then I can go and give them this book and show them what I like about it, and if they don't like it, I can always redo it, you know, at my own cost.
Well, how can you be reached?
I have my stuff right there on the back, and I have a website, and it's called www.lifecelebrationphotos.com.
Would you please repeat that?
www.lifecelebrationphotos.com.
All right, where do you want this project to be in 5 years?
Well, actually, I like the concept, and I'd like to see some photographers working for me, also doing photography. To be trained in discretionary and poignant videos. You definitely don't want to get in somebody's face or, you know, get too far into that, because there's some families that they're very, very emotional. And the funeral director has told me he's had to referee some fights at the funeral home. You know, it can get really ugly. So,
Yes.
you know, you want to really be careful whose toes you step on. And
Yes.
try not to actually step on any.
So in 5 years, you don't want to be in jail.
No. That's another,
heard it here
yeah,
first
it's another
here.
place I don't want to be, yeah.
And that's a true delicate balance, and I think because you've experienced this yourself, you understand that
Right.
balance.
Better than
And-
anyone.
Right, and that's, you bring so much to this project. So if someone's hiring you as a celebration of life photographer, you understand where
Oh,
they're
yeah,
coming
I know
from.
exactly.
You know, this whole book was inspired by your daughter, Megan. Could you talk a little bit about her?
Yeah, Megan was high-functioning autistic, and she recently developed epilepsy, and it was actually a seizure that did her in. You know, she had a seizure, and I found her.
That's shocking. And as a part of your tribute to her, you are preparing this.
Yeah, I feel like she gave me the idea, because I was thinking one night, what do I do now? What do I do? I'm not taking care of Megan. And then the idea came to me.
Well, let's take a look at this. I think we have a
Okay.
clip here that'll that's priceless.
Thank
That is priceless.
Beautiful photographs, and the way that they were done, so tasteful, just showing the vibrancy really of who she was. I think that was beautiful.
She's a real live wire.
I could see that a lot in those
Yeah,
photographs.
she's funny.
Do you have a copy of the book with her pictures in it?
No, I haven't made one with her in it yet. I just have a slideshow, and I made a whole bunch of them at her funeral, and they went like hotcakes.
Because I think everyone wants that takeaway, that memory.
Right.
Especially of a young person, that vibrancy, seeing her life, and from those clips, like some of her activities, the swimming and things like that.
She did like to swim.
And you want to remember those times,
Uh-huh.
you know. So I think everyone wants to remember that. So I'm
Yeah.
sure that's a great takeaway.
Yeah, especially the time she ran in the water with her clothes on.
Well, we want to take a break, and we'll be right back with more of the lifestyle book that summarizes the life of a person that's deceased. That's wonderful. We'll be right back.
Children's Miracle Network Hospitals helps more kids and their families than any other children's charity. Learn how you can make miracles happen by visiting cmnhospitals.org.
Welcome back to Spotlight on the National Great Blacks in Wax Museum. I'm John Carrington,
And I'm Tia Taylor.
and we're here with Renee Billing. And Miss Billing has come up with a wonderful idea for memorializing your loved ones. And of course, this is a book that was inspired by her daughter Megan's untimely departure. And at some point, you're going to create a book that reflects the legacy of Megan.
Yes.
Yes. Again, how can people contact you to find out more information?
My information's on the back, but I also have a website. It's www.lifecelebrationphotos.com.
And there's a whole culture that we get involved with when it comes to death and dying. I know in my family, when somebody passes, we have the traditional funeral parlor and the wake and the church service. And for those folk who we know are saved, we have what we call a celebration at the church. And usually that celebration is one of joy, because that person has crossed over to where we're all going to go.
Right.
And then, of course, there's situations where you kind of wonder if a person is saved, and they tend to be very sad in our culture, but we don't talk about it in those terms. We always have that optimistic hope that they are saved, and they are going to spend the rest of their life with God and heaven, His Son Jesus. So it's just the culture. And the Irish have a tradition too. Are you Irish, Tia?
I am not Irish.
I'm Irish.
You are? Okay. What's the tradition for the Irish
Red
folks
hair.
when they
Yeah, I know.
have death and dying?
We have a wake, and after that we have the funeral and the burial, and we have like a big potluck. You know,
Oh,
after,
food.
after, yeah,
Okay, food.
Yeah.
Okay, libations.
Yes, a lot of people drink.
Okay, all right. Well, I didn't want to say it like that.
Yeah.
But yes.
And I think that's often in the African American community. I know there's lots of food, because when somebody dies, you do not go hungry. That's
No,
for
you
sure.
don't. Although it's hard to get anything down.
You know, I think there's food coming over from all directions, which is so nice, because people don't know what to do really sometimes.
Right.
So they bring cakes and pies and lots of chickens.
And
I
lots
know
of
what I've
lasagna.
had. Lots of lasagna, pasta dishes, anything you can think of. Part of that, I think, is so the family themselves won't have to cook,
Right.
because they're already going through so much.
Right.
And the other piece of it is, so many people are coming to visit you at home. There's always food there for
Right.
visitors to have. So I know that's something that just I've been familiar with, and on my own family when someone passes away.
And it's a way for families to reconnect too. You know, it's sad to say that your family would come together around a sad occasion, but at least they are together.
Yes.
And so many times, to counterbalance that, we many times say during the holidays, let's just get together as a family, or in the summer, let's have a picnic as a family while everybody's happy and we're having a joyous occasion. But again, the funeral is another occasion for families to get together,
Well, to pay their respect.
to pay their respect. Because you know, families getting together really is very vital and important, especially in our society.
Yes.
So many times when things go wrong, family gets behind you, and when things go right, family ought to be with you too. So what keeps families together is the joy and the fun of being family. And on a sad occasion, they still get together and they still have a degree of fun and remembrance and sharing.
They pull together.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. We're going to take a break, and we'll be right back with more Spotlight on the National Great Blacks in Wax Museum.
Welcome back to Spotlight, where we're talking about the final journey home. And we've been talking today with Renee Bailing. I've got John Carrington here, talking about this transition of life and how family deals with each other and how they experience that after the fact. And it can be joyous, as John was mentioning, just remembering someone's life and who they were. But it's also a very sad time because you're missing that person. We've all had different experiences. We heard about Renee and her daughter. I personally have had some experiences in the last couple years where I've had several people pass away. Most notably, my grandmother, who was the matriarch of our family, passed away about 2 years ago. And it was a huge shock for our family. She died suddenly of a heart attack. And it was just really devastating for us, but at the same time, it really brought everyone together. We were able to have everyone fly in, all of her immediate grandchildren fly in. The celebration was magnificent. Every day at her house, we had church members come over. We sang gospel songs each night. We prayed. We cried. But most importantly, we laughed, remembering who she was as a person, because her spirit was just so wonderful and strong. And at the funeral itself, we actually all participated in the funeral. I read a poem. My cousin sings. She sang a song. Her son, my uncle, he sang a song. And she was so involved in the church that many of the church members participated as well in the choir and giving words of inspiration. So as sad as the time was, it was also a time to celebrate, to know that she was in our life for that time period. Because that's what's so incredible. As much as I miss her at times, and you miss your daughter, and John, you may miss loved ones, to know that we had that time with them is just so amazing, and we've learned so much from having them in our lives, and I think that's the beauty of it. So as sad as it is, it was wonderful to see her life being played out on a PowerPoint presentation in the church, which was lovely because you got to see all those pictures on the screen while the service was going on. So there's so many memories when someone passes away, and as John was mentioning, and you were mentioning, it's a celebration of life. Right. It's a celebration of the journey as they transition to the other side. And we know that although they're no longer with us, they're always within our heart, and that's something that we take with us always.
Right.
So, John, do you have any family memories of someone that's no longer with us?
Well, my father died in 1986 during the January, during that horrible snow we had. And one of the neighbors, we didn't even know him. He was a bricklayer, and since he couldn't work, he literally took his equipment and dug out the whole street in front of my father's house in order for the family to gather there and for the hearse to pick up. The family to get in a limo and travel to the funeral. So he dug out the whole block with his own equipment to do that, and that's just a neighbor. And of course, I've been to neighborhoods where you're looking for the family that you're supposed to visit and say hello to and help in the grieving process, and people who are in that neighborhood know about it and they say, oh, that's 2 doors down, or that's across the street, and they're just so friendly and helpful. So at a time of grieving, communities come together, and that's vital too.
That's true. They, the fire department showed up at my daughter's funeral.
Oh, wow.
That's nice. It's nice and it's touching when people you don't know that well just recognize that that's important to you, and it means something when a stranger even says, I'm sorry for your loss, or they write you a note, or they may say something to you, even in the grocery store, or something like that.
I still have people saying, where's your daughter? It's kind of awkward.
It's awkward, and it's awkward for them, but at
Yeah.
the same time,
Can't feel bad.
but at the same time, it must make you feel good to know they've recognized her.
Yeah.
They remembered who
Yeah,
she
she
was.
was always with me.
Yeah, but they remembered her, and that's what you like, celebrating that life, that
Right.
that they remembered who she was.
Now, there are times people have pets that they grieve over. Is this something that you want to
Oh
extend?
yeah, I can do this with pets too.
You
Because
can?
people are very attached to their pets.
Okay.
Yeah. And I can make a nice little book for them too.
Okay.
It's great. I think it's so wonderful to hold on to memories, and traditionally, in the Blacks and Wax Museum, you'll see a little bit about traditional burials of slaves, and just traditionally how the African American community, 100 years ago, 50 years ago, how they handled some burials. But even as we bring it forward to today, celebration of life has taken so many different routes in terms of how people do it. And this book is just another way to express how you love someone and how you celebrate someone's life. You can do it through song, through poem, through photographs,
Yes, yes.
through sharing family memories, as you were talking about, John, to fellowshipping with each other. And sometimes you walk into a home where someone's passed away and people are laughing. They're like, I thought somebody died here. Well, they did die.
Yeah.
And people grieve differently.
And people grieve differently. So there's crying going on and there's laughing going on. Remembering some funny story that happened with that person. So we're talking about the journey of life and the afterlife. And since we were talking about how we celebrate someone's passing and their life and their journey, we're also going to talk a little bit about the afterlife, or what we believe, or everyone has different beliefs about where people go after life. And I know I personally believe that there is a heaven, and that my loved ones are there, in a joyous state up in heaven. And there's different beliefs though, and I know you all may think different things or have heard things as well.
And speaking of that, I saw on the internet where this young girl at 8 years old, she painted an accurate portrayal of what Jesus Christ is.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting. I mean, that must be so connected, in
Right.
terms
Well,
of...
she had visions, the spiritual visions of heaven, and she painted them.
Wow.
And another little boy who had died and came back, he was with his father and he saw the picture and he said, Dad, that's what Jesus looks like.
Wow. That's pretty amazing. And to know that someone's connected, even at that young age.
Right.
They have that spirituality
Well, let's
at that
take a look
young
at this
age.
clip. I think we have a clip here though. Let's take a look at this. Wow, that's fantastic.
That was.
I like to keep things simple, especially for people who are trying to understand this whole journey and grief, and then celebration. I believe it's as simple as ABC. As a Christian, I believe that we all are sinners, and we have to admit that we're sin. We all have to admit that we are sinners, saved by grace. And then B, we have to believe that Jesus Christ died on that cross for our sins, and we have to accept Him as our personal Lord and Savior. And C, we have to call upon Jesus, because God so loved the world that He gave His only begotten Son. And whosoever believeth Him shall not perish, but have everlasting life. Everlasting life. Heaven. So it's ABC. Admit that you're a sinner. Believe that Jesus Christ is the Lord of your life. And then call on His name. And then you're guaranteed a place in heaven. So that's my belief.
I believe to pray every day.
And I believe to pray as well. And if you pray and you believe, as John was talking about, then that person will get to heaven.
Well, I want to thank everybody for being a part of this segment of Spotlight on Great Blacks in Wax Museum. And I want to thank Renee Bailing for being a part of the program. I'm John Carrington.
And I'm Tia Taylor.
And this is Spotlight on Great Blacks in Wax. We'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.